Okay, don't click off this video. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a side note before I start the topic. You're probably already looking for other videos to watch or trying to look at the comments. I don't know, but you should probably pay attention because you're probably going to relate to this. Someone a while back asked me, look, how do you deal with this feeling that the group that you're a part of is always like ignoring you or not valuing what you have to say? And this is my response to that, all right? Now, a lot of you have probably felt that way. A lot of you have probably felt like, you're in a group and you say something and it's just like not valued. Like it's almost like no one heard you, you know? And when it comes for them to time when it comes time for them to speak, you're always listening, but when it comes for you time for you to speak, it's almost like they're absent. They're just on their phone, or like they're listening to someone else, or they prioritize listening to someone else over you. It's like, there's some context and things that's fine, and I get that, right? But I understand that, and I used to be in a similar boat, and this is how I look. My story goes something like this. For most of my life, I've always felt invisible. And I'm not saying that just to play like this victim card. That's just genuinely how I felt when I was younger. Like back in middle school, high school, the only thing that was giving me like maybe some level of status was like I was in the soccer team, right? I wasn't very good at soccer, but I was on the soccer team, and uh, uh, I would always try to talk to people or try to try to sit there and try to like fit in, but it never ended up really ever working because I would always talk to them, and it was always like it almost always felt like it was surface level conversation, or that I kind of wasn't even like part of the group. I was just kind of like chilling there, and then I would always have someone be some sort of dick and make some racist joke or do some shit, and I would just always do make self-deprecating humor, and that's when you like laugh at yourself for being that. And it was just like, now that I look back at it, it was like pathetic. I also had someone who, which I was fine with because I didn't really consider any of them like friends or and things like that. But there was one friend I had. He's gonna be nameless, but I used to play with him on the PlayStation all the time. Way back, and he was also a friend of mine in real life at school. Friend. I would tell him, he would talk to me about things and friendships and all these things he's going through. But when it was my turn to talk, it was always like dismissed. Like he almost didn't ever care. And the thing was, I stuck with him because I had no one else. I was like lonely. I was what you call a nomad. What I considered myself to be a nomad. I was basically someone who would walk around, right, and just be in different groups, but I wouldn't be a part of any one particular group. And it's not in the way that you think. Like, popular kids can do that, but be popular in every single group. I was that kid. I was the same thing, but I wasn't popular or basically known at all. And I was only the guy there that would be used by women or like used by all these people just for like homework, basically, right? And so, and that's genuinely how I felt. Maybe that's not how they felt, but that's genuinely what I thought. Okay, and so like anytime anybody had a problem, and I would be there to help them with their homework or do shit like that. And I thought like I was bonding with these people by doing this. Like I was like, yeah, I'm finally fitting in. I'm finally with like the popular group and shit like that. But like that was never the case. Because every time I was there, I would just go ignored. And I think a couple of times I had like crushes back in high school, and like I would talk to them, and like I did the blue pill mistake of telling them like the way I felt, things like that, and all this cringy shit, and it just became a shit show. Like I would text them, and I literally would see them look at me and laugh at me. Like it was that bad. So I just wanted to say that just so you understand what happened, and you understand my backstory a little bit, and you also understand that one thing I left out in, that one friend that I always listened to, and he wouldn't listen to me. It pretty much sounds like all of them, but the one friend I would play online games with, right? He literally cut me off because I wasn't in the right rank as them. But as soon as someone wanted to play rank that was actually like one of their friends, they would play and they would literally kick me. They would literally laugh at my rank and kick me, and I still considered them friends. So if you've been in that position before, like, I'm telling you, it is not fun, bro. It happens for years on end. And I'm not telling you this so you can pity me. I'm way over this. Because I've journaled about it. I've, talked to myself about it. And I've processed it painfully for years. Years on end. I would just, I would literally just play like... Back then, I really liked the way, this is probably basic, but I listened to a lot of Juice WRLD. So I would, like, close the lights in my bathroom. And I don't care how edgy or any of this shit sounds, but it's just a fact. It's just the truth. I would close my lights, listen to that, and I would just sit in the shower, and I'd steaming hot shower. Just because, like, it was so hard for me to... Like, I felt so numb, like I didn't know anybody, or like I had no friends, or like no purpose in life or nothing, that I would just sit there in the shower and just like chill there until it like felt better, right? But yeah, man, it's tough. It's never easy to, when you're trying so hard, you come from a different country where you're trying so hard to like try fitting in with people and just try to get to know people, but they think they think you're uncool, and you think you're uncool because, you make assumptions about you thinking you're brown, or, you thinking you're this and you're not this, and then you just have feelings of not being enough and things like that because, you're being ignored all the goddamn time. You're like, no one's listening to you, no one cares. You're always being apparently annoying whenever you're talking to them. It sucks, bro. Shit sucks. But let me tell you this. Look, the way I started to deal with those people was this. So I went to college and I realized something similar would happen. Like, sometimes I would get ignored here and there, but I'd improve myself significantly from what I was back in high school. Even though my style was okay, the way I talked and things like that just weren't there. And, that made it harder to also talk to, like, girls. And because for a young guy in America, for a young brown guy, even if you're, like, religious, you get, like, really, really tempted by, wanting to talk to women just like all the other kids do. So that's what you do. And you feel, you feel hella rejected when you're not able to talk to them, and you're constantly getting rejected too. So that doesn't end up well. That just pairs on and piles on top, one on top of the other, and you're just, like, hanging on that one last bit of hope that it'll be fine, but like, you're always down in the shithole in your mind. But again, I digress. I went to college. It got a lot better because I'd improved myself. But what I started to learn, bro, about people is sometimes they're not ignoring you. There's two reasons that they could really be ignoring you. Actually, there's a couple more reasons that they could be ignoring you. Okay, one reason is they might just be passionate about the topic they're talking about, which, like, there's good reasons and there's bad reasons, okay? So good reasons would be like, okay, it's not about you. You're not the reason they're ignoring you. And then the second one is like, you're the reason they're ignoring you. First one's like, good reasons might be like they're passionate about the topic, so they're like talking over you and shit like that. And sometimes you just need to shut up and listen, okay? Because in order for the conversation to flow and everybody to get their part in, you need to be able to shut up, have the awareness to shut the fuck up sometimes and just listen, bro. I can't tell you how many of you are shit at this. Like, you are so bad at this, you don't understand. A lot of people are terrible at shutting up. Sometimes I'm really bad at this too. I used to be way worse at this. Like, I would just not stop talking. And then I realized, wait, I should probably shut up from time to time, because people can't get across what they're trying to get across. And sometimes you make the mistake of, if you're a nervous, introvert kind of guy, you like make the mistake of like not letting the silence be there within the conversation. So you keep asking questions thinking that like this other person's not going to talk. And so you have to keep the conversation going. And sometimes that happens with, women that are awfully dry because they don't need to be good at conversations because, their looks might carry them. But the thing is, some people actually want to talk, so you have to shut up and let them talk. So that's one, and that's a good reason, I would say. Bad reason would be, look, they genuinely in their mind perceive you as someone who is not worth talking to. And I know that's going to sound very, very harsh, and I know that's going to sound like, that they might tell you that that's not the case, but they're doing that to maybe make you feel better. And maybe it's, who knows, maybe it's a cope from me. Maybe I still haven't gotten over my past, and subconsciously I'm thinking that that's just the case. But in my opinion, sometimes I've noticed in my mind that, and this is horrible to think, but sometimes I've thought like, this person is not worth for me to listening to. But sometimes I only think that because this person, for example, has a lot of weight on them and they're telling me how to lose weight. It's like, you haven't accomplished that, I'm not going to value what you have to say. But that's a different kind. I'm talking about just speaking in general, and they're just not listening. Like, they can't banter with you. You can't do anything with these people because they just don't care, and they just want to get their piece out, right? And some people do not care absolutely what you have to say. They just want to be able to dominate within that friendship, within that group, whether they like to admit that or not. That is, like, some people like that power. I know what that's felt like because I've been on the other side of that. I've also been on the other side of that when it comes to like a friends with benefits relationships, which I can completely talk about on another video. Like, there comes a sense of corruptness and power that kind of appeals to your darker side of you, and you like that shit. And you're just like, look, I can tell this person whatever, but like, I don't have to value or sit or listen to what it is that they have to say. But the thing is, that quickly ends up catching up with them because they're in a shit show of people who are also like them. So they'll say something and then they'll say something back, but there's not actually a good conversation happening because it's just like that person saying what they need to say, and then I'm gonna wait for them to finish. Oh, okay, now I can say what it is that I need to say and not give a fuck about what they just said completely and just ignore them, okay? To that I say, bro, look, you need to leave these friends. They aren't your friends. I'll give you the hard truth. That is the utter hard truth. You need people who will listen to you, and the way you know they're listening to you is they'll ask you questions that are relevant to what it is you're talking about, and help you, and actually help you. Your standards are not high enough. You might think that these are people you want to associate with because they have a level of status, they have a level of this, they look cool, they act cool, they maybe they talk to all the bad bitches at school, like whatever it is, bro. You might think that, but they're shit at conversation. I almost like guarantee it. I have not met a lot of people who are mindful within conversation and actually have the capability of listening and then being able to process what it is that they said. And maybe this is you. Maybe you're the one watching this video, processing what the other person just said and asking them questions based off that, right? Sometimes I also have the tendency to just like end up talking about myself, and I'm like, how does that end up happening? It's like, no, I need to stop doing that too, because sometimes you just need to listen to the other person and help them out with what it is they're going through, and then maybe they have something, that could help you out. So again, you need to stop surrounding yourself with people who won't listen to what it is you have to say, because Jordan Peterson also had something to say about this. He said in one of his presentations, I think, that if you're surrounded by a crowd, and you try to tell them something, if they're not listening, it's almost like you're giving the information that you're saying, right? All of what you're saying, you're giving all that info to a crowd that does not value it. Okay? So, and the more you talk about it and the more you try, it just becomes more and more devalued, and they just won't listen to it. So basically, you need to learn to talk less, also listen more. And this is why I think Epictetus said, or I think it was Zeno, sorry, it was Zeno, the founder of Stoicism. He said, there's a reason you have one mouth and there's a reason you have two ears. Listen more and talk less. But I think that can be kind of hard to wrap your head around. So I would say listen more carefully than how it is that you like talk. Like focus more on the listening part rather than the talking part. The talking part people can do. The listening part is harder to do. And what ends up happening is when you actually start to listen to people, they actually can't explain why just yet, but I gotta make a quick summary of the video. I'll tell y'all later. But basically, run away from these people as far as you can. If they're ignoring what it is you're saying, they're not worth your time. Find people who are and who will listen to you, and then also listen to them. That is very important. You must also be a good listener, because then you'll find people who are also good listeners. It naturally works that way. People who just talk over other people and shit like that, you're not going to find them, and therefore you'll get ignored all the time and be invisible, okay? So simply put, run, okay? That might be hard for some of you, and because it gets lonely, but it is the right decision, and it will be lonely for a little while, but you will find the people who you're looking for, and it will be worth it, I promise. That's exactly what happened with me, so I get it, bro. It just takes time. That's all I got for you. Peace.